Chapter 4 time. I need the on-brand water bottle. Drink water if you haven't already. Oh shit. April 1867. I think we know what this scene is. Hey, look, Okita. Cherry blossoms have bloomed. They're magnificent, look. The seasons changed and spring came. Kyoto was filled with the cherry blossoms and the whole city took on a festive atmosphere. Surrounded by the gentle cheer of spring, my footsteps felt somehow lighter.
このところ暖かくなってきたし、今日はいい天気だし、浮かれる気持ちもわからなくはないけど、一緒に歩いてる僕たちのことも少しは考えてほしいな。
I gasped and I turned around to look at my surroundings. The townsmen were looking at me dubiously as I expressed my excitement over the weather. Okay, I'll be careful. Maybe I was spacing out because things had quieted down a bit and I let my guard down. Hey, Okita.
何?
In that narrow alleyway over there, there seemed to be a few Ronin that saw us and snuck away.
そんなのいちいち気にしてもしょうがないでしょ。
Really?
もし本当に尊重派な老子だったら、もっと堂々としているはずだよ。僕らの姿を見て慌てて逃げるような連中は正直言って雑魚だよ、雑魚。
I see.
まあ僕たちに絡んでくるほど度胸がある老子なんて今の今日にはいないと思うけどね。
The Shinsengumi's gotten pretty famous around Kyoto, hasn't it? The uniform stands out a lot too.
まあ目立って困ることもあるけどね。
When the men wore their uniforms, people seemed to notice them at first glance, which at first probably seemed like a good thing, but their uniform had become a symbol. But there were some arguments among the Shinsengumi about if they should adopt a new one. Some people, such as Ito, felt that the uniform should be changed because it wasn't fashionable. Fashion is like the only thing Ito fucking cares about besides his beauty sleep. Is Ito back from the Imperial territories yet?
そうみたいだね。別に帰ってこなくてもよかったんだけど。
Nah, don't be like that. You want to go recruit some of his friends and acquaintances, right?
まあそういうことになってるけど、実際どこまで行ってきたんだろうね。
I didn't hear the details, but I heard he went to more places than he originally planned. If he put in all that effort, then he must really care about the Shinsengumi, right?
君はそう思ってるんだ。
Am I wrong?
違わないけどね。
You said it in a suggestive way.
近藤さん、優しいからな。あんな人、早く切っちゃえばいいのに。
You really shouldn't, Okita. How could you joke about killing one of your companions?
どうしね。
He scoffed it, then fell silent. Ever since he had first arrived. Oh, okay, I understand now the contents of the sentence. Ever since he had first arrived, Okita and the rest of them had never seemed to like Ito much. But when he said it aloud in public, it still surprised me. I glanced around to make sure no one had been paying attention. There in the crowd, a face I'd seen before. I stopped walking. Kaoru? The face I looked back could easily have been mine. There was no way I could have ever mistaken that face. But no sooner than I spotted her, as she disappeared, melting into the crowd. Kaoru!
ちょっとどこに行くつもり？
He made a grab for my arm, but I'd already moved out of his reach. I might get in trouble for it, but if I didn't go quickly, I'd lose her. Sorry, Okita! There's something I have to do! I caught a glimpse of his confused face as I ducked into the crowd.
勝手な行動は慎めっていつも言ってると思うんだけど、面倒を見させられるこっちの身にもなってほしいな。
I ran through the crowd as fast as I could, bobbing and weaving around citizens going about their business until at last I caught up to her.
あなたは
She was Kaoru, no mistake.
どうなさったんです？そんなに息を切らせて。
Sorry for surprising you, that is. Kaoru, do you remember me?
ええ、新選組の方たちと一緒にいた人ですよね。覚えていますよ。
May I ask you something?
まあ、何でしょう。
I gulped. I knew I had to choose my words carefully when asking her. One of the Shinsengumi saw a girl who looked like me at the Sanjo Ohashi Bridge a while ago. Could that have been you?
さあ、三条大橋は普通に通るところですけど、もし私がそこに行ったとして、何か問題が終わりになるのですか
？I was embarrassed for asking her what seemed to be an irrelevant question, but her eyes thinned.
もしかして、あなたがお聞きになりたいのは、夜にその場所へ行ったことがあるかどうかではありませんか？
Could it be? If it was an autumn night and you got in the Shinsengumi's way.
もしそうなら問題大ありだね。君には死んでもらわなきゃならないかな。
Okita! I hadn't realized he caught up with me so quickly.
これは新選組の沖田さん。いつぞやはどうもありがとうございました。
She bowed, but Okita didn't even seem to notice.
で、答えはどっちなのかな？心当たりはあるの？ないの？
Okita wore the same half smile he always did, but his body was as tight as a bowstring, ready to have his blade in his hand at a moment's notice.
死んでもらうなんて、そんな恐ろしいことおっしゃらないでくださいな。三条大橋なんて昼間は誰でも通るところではありませんか。それに夜なんて、あの警察の騒ぎがありましたから怖くて近づけません。ただ雪村さんに顔が似ているというだけで私を疑うなんてひどいです。
She sadly looked down, and I rushed to shake my head. Of course, I understand. Sorry for asking something so rude. I guess it really wasn't her. I felt embarrassed for even doubting her for a second, so I apologized.
甘いな。そんな簡単に疑いを解くなんて。もし犯人だとしても、自分から私がやりましたなんて言うわけないじゃない。
Well...
彼女を信じてあげようと思ったのはどうして？自分と似た顔をしてるから？それとも女の子だから？
I didn't have an answer. Kaoru then took one step back.
もう行っても構いませんか？用事がありますから失礼します。
Kaoru... She turned and ducked away, disappearing back into the crowd. Had I done the right thing, I wondered? in covering for? I was pondering whether or not I should give chase again when I heard Okita begin to cough. Okita! Are you okay? Okita!
来るな
As I stepped toward him, he threw out a hand and twisted his face upward to glare at me.
大丈夫だから君はそこでじっとしていて
It was the sheer force of his personality that stopped me, not just his words. For a little while, he coughed as if his lungs were going to collapse. Eventually, his coughing slowed and then began to subside. His cough finally ended, and he wiped his sweat and looked up. Okita, is something wrong?
何が
I mean, why don't we find somewhere to rest? You don't look too well.
顔色が悪いのは君を追いかけて走ってきたせいだよそれに今は巡察の最中でしょ休んでる暇なんてあるはずないじゃない
But
もう大丈夫さ落ち着いたからそれよりもさっきの人カオルさんのことだけど生殺事件のことを確かめたかった気持ちはよくわかる大事なことだからねでもそれならなおのことを一人で動くのは無謀だよもし彼女が敵で仲間が近くに隠れてたらどうするつもりだったの君一人で対処できた
well,
無用な心配だったって言い切れる彼女が君をおびき寄せるつもりだったとしたらこの場所は人目にもつかないし叫んでも声が届きにくい格好の襲撃場所だよ
you're right. She hadn't tried to attack me, but Okita was right. Next time I might not be so lucky. I could have easily run right into a trap.
巡察に同行している以上行動には注意してくれないと君は役立たずの子供なんだってこと少しは自覚したら
I gripped my fists and looked down. Sorry. I felt bad causing him extra stress, so I apologized and he sighed.
やれやれお説教なんて柄じゃないんだけどね
私
妙な遠慮はやめなよ頼るべき時は頼ればいいんだからさ君には散々迷惑かけられてるし今さら何とも思わないけどね
He let out a snort of laughter. That night, after everyone else had gone to bed, I lay awake thinking about what had happened. I couldn't forget what Okita had said. A useless kid. He was right. Compared to the captains, no, even compared to the weakest Shinsengumi foot soldier, I was pathetic. I had been lying there staring at the ceiling. My actions today were no doubt reckless. I mean, if this happened a little while ago, I'm sure I would have been killed, no questions asked. The fact that I got away with just a lecture shows that they're starting to trust me a little more, but I couldn't go on like this. Tomorrow, I start working harder. But no sooner had I closed my eyes What? There was a crash from the hallway outside my room. I rolled up and out of my bed just as the door exploded into my room. Standing in the hall was one of the Shinsengumi soldiers. Is something wrong? I called out to him, despite being incredibly alert and guarded, but the soldier remained quiet. Did you need something? Huh? I squinted to get a clearer picture. Just then, his hair instantly turned white. His eyes were ominously red and he looked directly at me. He was one of the Furies. To top it off, he was completely mad. Just like the warrior I saw that one night in Kyoto. I had to call for help. I couldn't possibly face a deranged superhuman monster on my own. I inhaled, preparing to call for help. No, I couldn't call for help. If I did, then I could just risk jeopardizing the Shinsengumi's secrets about the Furies. That would spell disaster for the Shinsengumi. I had to find another way. The Fury, unfortunately, was not similarly encumbered by doubts. The sword hissed through the air, and I felt the metal of the blade burn into the flesh of my arm. A sharp pain seared into through. I read this correctly the last time. What did I read this time? A sharp pain seared into through. It should be through, right? It should be through. Ah! A sharp pain seared into through from my wound. The Fury saw my blood dripping and his eyes became even more mad. Blood sprang from the cut. I pressed down on it desperately with my free hand, but to no avail. Thick, red liquid spilled between my fingers, fled down my arm and onto the floor. The Fury became increasingly erratic, and he started licking the blood-stained sword. He began to creep toward me, his movements odd and jerky like a massive spider. Oh no. My back slammed against the wall. I'm going to die. Just when I prepared myself for death, I suddenly remembered Okita's words from earlier that day.
妙な遠慮はやめなよ。頼るべき時は頼ればいいんだからさ。
Okita, everyone. This game's gonna make me scream again. All because of Okita, once again. Someone help! He was down on his hands and knees, licking my spilt blood off the floor. I keep reading that as spilt. Why? Oh my god, brain. There was no samurai there. It seemed what little humanity he had left. It seems what little humanity he had left him entirely. I used his distraction to gain distance from him. Please, I beg to any god who might be listening, please let someone come. He looked up from the floor. My sleeve was soaked in blood from the cut on my arm. His eyes locked onto it, and I saw them light up with animalistic hunger. His grin was a nightmarish thing.
それだ。お前の血をもっとよこせ。
He kicked the floor roughly and came charging at me. No! There was no doubt he was going to kill me. I froze.
伏せろ。いいって言うまで絶対に頭を上げるんじゃねえ。
I heard a voice from nearby and I immediately followed the orders and ducked. The Fury seemed to be shocked to see Hijikata coming out of nowhere. The Fury spun to attack Hijikata, but the commander's sword was faster. His twisted cry reverberated from the room's walls. He writhed in agony, but his wounds started to heal immediately.
今のうちだ。雪村、こっちへ来い。
Yes! As I ran to his side, I heard other footsteps pounding down the hallways.
無事か。こいつまさか。こいつこの間落ち水を飲まされた大使だな。ここまで狂っちまっちゃ生かしておくわけにはいかねえか。
At some unspoken signal, a chorus of blades slid from their scabbards.
新発さん佐野さん抜かるんじゃねえぞ。てめえ誰に物を言ってやがるんだ。
羅刹だろうがなんだろうが波の大使に遅れを取るわけねえだろ。
They fanned quickly, circling the wounded soldier. There was no escape.
悪く思うなよ。
The captains all attacked at once, and the Fury was killed almost instantly. The excitement was over. Or so I thought. But it hadn't been only the captains who heard my cry for help.
まったくこんな夜中に何の騒ぎですの？
伊藤さん。
Ito rubbed his still sleepy eyes, stepped into the room, and froze.
何なのですかこれは。そこの大使には見覚えがありますわ。確か大気違反で切腹させたはずでは。それにこの血、あなた方の仕業ですの？
伊藤さん違うんだ。これはさ。
何が違うのですか。幹部総出で寄ってたかって大使をなぶり殺しにするなんて。誰か説明なさい。一体何があったんです？
Ito was fuming and screaming.
皆さん申し訳ありません。私の不注意が原因です。
Sanan-san! Seeing Sanan, Ito's eyes grew wide.
三男さん？なぜ亡くなったはずのあなたがここに？
The captains fell silent. Eventually,
これ以上隠し通すこともできねえか。雪村、お前は席を外してろ。今夜は俺の部屋を使って構わねえ。
I know me being here won't do anything, but I wonder if they'll be alright. Will they be able to explain the situation enough to Ito so that he wouldn't freak out? I doubt it. There was so much to worry about, but Hijikata-san looked at me sternly.
聞こえねえのか。席を外せって言ったんだ。
I was worried, but I knew there was something else I could do, so there was nothing else I could do, so I left the room.